Now I'm quite curious to see if any one of you has ever actually noticed why my videos usually tend to turn out so long. Maybe besides the fact that at least I would say they are also quite detailed. Well, I think it's actually quite obvious. Usually I just complain so much, which takes up more time and ends up in a longer video, right? And at least therefore in theory, this video today should turn out quite compact. Well, because I don't really have much, if at all, to complain about today's product, which is the Creative Sound BlasterX G6, and that is an USB DAC / external sound card / headphone amp. So if you're looking for a great external solution to hook up your speakers, but actually most notably your headphones or headset up to it, well, then I think you are at the right position. It costs about $150, and let's take a look at the front to see what we actually get. We get a headset or headphone port to hook up your, well, headset or headphones. Then we get a port for your microphone, and as you can see here, the volume wheel. It's actually quite smooth, even though it has a little bit of some wiggle in the middle, but if you go into one direction, usually it's always quite smooth. There is also white lighting, which actually looks a little bit like light purple here on the video and flickers, but you don't really see that in reality. What I also want to mention is the microphone port, because if you are just using a normal headset with one cable, you don't have to think about using a splitter. You just plug it into this and your microphone will also work, because at first I thought I would need a splitter. It's not the thing. Now on the right side we have here the Scout mode button. I will go into those later. Then the SBX button and low and high gain, along with a few status LEDs to show you what it's actually working right now. And then I hope the autofocus will work. I will show you the other two ports, which is line optical in and line optical out, along with the micro USB port. And micro USB here is totally fine, because it's just to give this thing power and to transmit data, and therefore it's totally enough. And well, just so you know, this is portable in some way, but it's supposed to be stationary because it's quite small, but it isn't self-powered, so it doesn't have a battery, like for example something like this, which is a portable headphone amp. So this has a battery in it, this has not, and yet it's bigger, but that is totally fine, since you will mostly use this on your desk, and therefore it doesn't need to be super compact. It's also actually quite lightweight, and maybe it could be a little bit heavier, so it won't slide around on your desk, but it shouldn't be a thing, because everything here is smooth rubber. It's not kind of the grippiest rubber, but usually if it's on your desk, it doesn't really move. That is fine. It could maybe feel a little bit more solid, because sometimes there is some creaking going on. But on the other side, I don't think you will kind of squeeze this all the time, because all you would maybe do is just hook up your headphones or something like that and use the wheel, obviously. So in that regard, it's fine. So let's take a look at the software now, because that is kind of the heart of it, and actually something that I didn't know at first that I need, because just because I had also the Creative H6 headset here, I had this installed, and then just by accident noticed that this actually takes use of it, because here in the dashboard you get the most important stuff available at all times directly. So you can see the Sound Blaster engine, where you, if you, for example, go into that, actually see, for example, that you have the equalizer obviously available. Then you have the acoustic engine with surround to kind of change a little bit of the sound stage for the sound. We have a crystallizer option. That's something that Sound Blaster has been doing for like decades already by now, so I guess it's known. Also a bass slider, smart volume, and dialogue plus to enhance maybe like dialogues in games. Scout mode, let's talk a little bit about that, even though I've already did that in the H6 review. So what it does is it boosts mids and highs, so kind of footsteps are supposed to be easier to hear, but what I've also noticed is that it also makes like wind noises and other surrounding noise also louder, which doesn't maybe help that much. And it also kind of makes the soundstage smaller, which makes imaging or locating things a little bit smaller. So if it's more important for you to hear footsteps instead of actually being able to properly locate them, then this is your first chance. Otherwise I would maybe stick without it, because generally the soundstage and imaging and the ease of positioning someone was just a little bit easier, or locating someone. Then we have Dolby. That's just pretty much a feature that allows you to listen at night, but without losing too much or actually reducing the dynamic range. So everything is pretty much on the similar level, but on a headphone I don't think that's too important, but I guess you know what it does, because you can use it for full dynamic range, or night mode where the dynamic range gets smaller, obviously also normal. And then that is something actually quite cool for a headphone amp. Here we have filters like fast roll off, slow roll off, also fast roll off with linear phase, and the same also for slow, which is quite cool. Then we have voice, where we have a voice morph option. I think I will actually make a demo of this later once the video is done, just for fun, because you can try out a few of these. And then we also have the lighting option, which only works for the X here. So you can change the color, make it pulsate, and all these kind of things. Yeah. And in the setup, there obviously you can choose if you want to use the speakers or the headphones, if you want to use it direct or with audio effects, stereo, 5.1 or 7.1. Here the same for the speakers. You can change if they are full or they're desktop speakers, bookshelf speakers or towers, custom also available. And in the mixer, you can change the levels, like for example for the playback, but also for monitoring through line in, through an external mic or SPDIF, and the same as also for the recording here with all the levels. So it's a pretty powerful app. It's pretty useful, yeah. And here you can see once again the lighting, which actually looks way better in reality because it looks quite washed out here. So colors not that realistic. I would say that, well, we should talk about how good it actually is. So I'm mostly gonna just judge it based on headphone use. And here I have to say that is a very clean headphone amp, because for example on my $400 NFB 1128 there is quite some background noise, some background hiss already obvious, like after like 50%. So it's in some situations not that great, but here a very clean signal, even if you go all the way up high. And it's a very powerful amp to say, because I have only one headphone that it couldn't drive properly, but not because of power, because of some other issues, because at the volume at around 70%, just a lot of distortions came up. But I also have to mention that that is a $2,300 Mr. Speakers Ether 2 that I don't think anyone will actually use on something like this. So that was the one oddity. Anything else, for example Sennheiser HD58X, which is the one that I would actually in combo recommend for a great $300 head or gaming experience with the DAC and the headphone. You still need a microphone in that case. You can check out for something external, but that's a great combo if you want already a very, very good experience. But even with something with an H6, it's already pretty good, even though that one doesn't even need the G6. But like I said, it has a lot of power. It can power everything. This so easily. I mean, even with my Odyssey LCD 2C, I was at like 60% at high gain, and it was already almost too loud. This means you can see how much reserves you have. Now about the actual quality, I also have to say that this one is actually really good, and even good enough for audiophiles, because if I make a quick side-by-side comparison with my NFB 11, there isn't much, if at all, of a difference. Obviously, if you go into the details with certain headphones, you might get some more details out of it, but I mean, just at the first glance, you get easy the power that you need, and you get the audiophile experience because it has nice deep bass. It doesn't kind of struggle, it doesn't lose out on the power, so the bass gets a little bit uncontrolled or something like that. It's absolutely nice. Same goes for the mids and for the high, so it is a very good one. It's actually very neutral, even though I don't think that matters at all, because you will use, after all, the XPX engine with the acoustic engine to tune the surround, to tune the crystallizer, the bass to your liking, to just boost your gaming experience. Because I have to just say this, usually I tend to be a minimalist and just play games with a good stereo amp or headphone amp and just play it as it is. But I did notice with this engine, I still don't use 5.1 or 7.1. You can do that, but if you just use the crystallizer and especially the surround, and for certain games adjusted it definitely doesn't make you a better gamer. I don't think that is possible, but it enhances your experience, and I have to say that's great. And it is also, I have to just mention it, a very good recording solution, because the input, or what it kind of is able to record from a microphone, is actually very clean. You can see the demo here in the H6 review that I made, and it's a very clean signal without pretty much any background noise. It has enough power to power it. So great bass solution if you want even just a good headphone amp, because a lot of people usually ask me, do you have a good recommendation for a good headphone amp at 100 or lower? And I usually say I haven't really reviewed anything under 150, and unfortunately this one isn't under 150 or 100 either. But this is also more than just a headphone amp, because you have the whole sound card thing. It is a DAC, and it can also drive or kind of pass through to your speakers and such things, with the whole acoustic engine and everything else. With great power comes great responsibility. That makes no sense, but I guess you get what I mean. I like it a lot, and if I would try to pick out something, I don't know. Build quality doesn't really matter, that it sometimes creaks because you won't usually touch it. Power, ports, yeah. Sorry, I don't really have something, so that's where I'm just gonna end it. Under 10 minutes, yeah, I actually finished that, so just go buy it, okay? Until next time, bye. So, the review is done, but now comes the fun. Because I actually wanted to take a few minutes to play with the sound morphing feature, and well, you might hear everything a little bit twice with an echo, but it's just because so I can actually hear the effect myself, because otherwise it wouldn't be that much fun just hearing me with my normal voice, right? Okay, so I'm actually gonna go through all of them, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so the first one is
male. Well, now, for the very first time ever, I sound like a male, right? Yeah, or maybe not.
But I might also sound like a woman here right now, which, I mean, yeah, those sound morphing features are fun, but yeah.
Okay, so here's one actually important question. Did you get what you wanted?
Yes.
And what did it cost you?
Everything. You got it?
Okay. Elderly, well, yeah, this is what an elderly person sounds like if he, for example, fell down and help, help. Okay.
Next one. From up north. I have no idea what's that supposed to be. What is a from up north sound? Well, I guess this.
Unstable should actually sound like me in person. I don't know.
Or maybe emo, because emo doesn't sound that much different, I have to say. But yeah, I'll leave the choice up to you.
And then we have elf. Now, this is what an elf is supposed to sound like. Well, if, well, the hobbits and so would have sounded like that, or the elves in that. What's the whole thing? Lord of the Rings. Oh man, completely forgot it.
But the dwarf did sound like that? No, I don't think so. No? Get them, fight into the battle.
And now we have demon. This is what a demon sounds like, supposedly, right? I don't think so. It sounds really off. And then we have an infiltrator. It's actually weird, because infiltrator in the German version of this app sound is just alien. So an infiltrator is an alien. Well, an alien is also something different, right? Okay. Brute. I don't know what else to say here. Not, is this like something like a predator? But the predator didn't talk really on. Or is it that it kill? He didn't even do that. An orc. Not sure what else to say here. Orcs are in World of Warcraft, right? I only watched the Warcraft movie. Marine. What is a marine? Does a marine talk different, act like a normal person? I have no idea.
And then Alwyn and the chipmunks talk like this? Yeah, kind of. But I don't really know a song right now, so I'm just not gonna even do that.
And then we have a robot. It's not Mr. Robot, it's just a robot. But, well, what some might maybe
What I hear is, get to the chopper. Get down if you want to live. But it cost me everything. And by the way, for those who think I look like Thanos, and those who think that I don't look like Thanos or a fat couch potato Thanos, yeah. Okay, so that was the demo.
Well, let's get back to the original voice. That is the original, no fake here. This
is how I usually sound like, right? Woo!